Guys, for what reasons would you have a 4-year sexual relationship with a woman but not want a relationship? She continues to give him sexual access to her even though what she really wants is a romantic commitment. You can't go through life expecting other people to give you what you want when you're willing to accept what you don't from them. You need to follow through on your own desires, set standards for yourself and a potential partner, and have the fortitude to walk away when you realize your needs will never be met where you are. Also, very hard to reverse engineer a purely sexual relationship. That ship sailed the first day it either became sexual or stopped being romantic. Sex and relationships are two very different things, however they can go hand in hand. This person values the sexual relationship the two of you share, but assuming you actually asked about this does not see you connecting on a more intimate non-sexual wavelength. If two people are sexually compatible but don't have romantic comparability, they can have an indefinite sexual relationship and be content, but that's pretty rare. Again, assuming you actually asked about this, if this person does not want more and you do, it's time to move on. Without trying to sound harsh, some women are fucking material, and some women are dating material. Who falls into which category obviously depends on the guy you're asking, but I would imagine a lot of us have had sex with someone without any intentions of dating. If the guy is keeping the woman around for sex while leading her to believe they could start a relationship, that guy would be a dick. Edit before all the redditors call me a sexist incel. Some men are fucking material, some men are dating material. If the sex was good and there was no drama, then I would stay with them as long as they were not asking for a commitment. If they asked for a commitment or I wanted to settle down, then I would end it. I will guess if the person is ready to settle down or you are and they do not want to with you, then somewhere during these 4 years there was something that made them decide you were cool for fun but not for a future. This is not to be a hit to you, whatever it was very well may be a blessing in disguise. Focusing on a career but still want to have sex. Grew up in an abusive household and worried about what kind of partner they'd be, but still want to have sex. They like a person and get along well with them, but that person has red flags that make them unwilling to commit, but still want to have sex. They can't afford a relationship, but still want to have sex. X200B. There are a lot of reasons. Without further details, though we only have conjecture. Just for sex. Have that with a couple of girls, some going on 2 years now. I'm in an open relationship and it's exactly what we would need. Oftentimes there's no big hangout or lead up. When one of us calls, the other knows what we're there for and that's it. If it works out, that's great, if not, no big eye. We meet up, talk for a little depending on what we're looking for, non-con or something, fuck, give head or whatever, then we dip, because you've got serious insecurities and self-deprecation, which leads to excessive indecision, and the woman is way better off losing that shit. But the fact that she has also gone 4 years waiting for him, pretty cleanly reveals shit about her as well. So maybe they're right for each other and they're already in as good a relationship they'll ever manage while neither are willing to make any real efforts to change. Bored. Scared of commitment. Like the woman is a girlfriend companion but don't think she's wife material. Don't want to mingle finances. Simply like the relationship isn't or worried changing anything could ruin it. There's a bunch of potential reasons, not all are necessarily bad, but if the situation isn't working for you, talk about it. Or break it off. Or keep being unhappy with the situation. It's your life. Could be a bunch of different reasons. Don't want to put in that much work, or lose that much freedom, or whatever. Sex is fun, and while relationships can be very fulfilling and enjoyable, they're a challenge and take a lot of work. I'm a relationship kind of person, but I can easily empathize with someone who would want the enjoyment of sex without the ups and downs of a relationship. Even if it's monogamous sex. I've been in this situation. We were totally sexually compatible and found each other really hot, really made each other horny basically, but had very little in common outside of that. When the sex was over, there was nothing else between us apart from the possibility of more sex in the future, so we just met up now and then, until one day she met someone she connected with emotionally, and that was that. There's a lot of reasons. You try dating but both realize you're better off not with the person and become FWB. You live long distances away but still see each other irregularly enough to have sex. You're both E&M. All of those examples take communication on both sides though. People's ability and desire to maintain romantic relationships is a massive spectrum. Could also straight up be for the sex. Simply because we had a conversation early enough in the relationship where our long-term goals simply don't match, and we know our deal breakers in that regard won't change. So while searching for our forever mates, A little fun sex on the side with a partner you know you have a good sexual relationship with isn't the worst thing in the world. As long as you both continue to feel the same way. I see the sex long term, not the person. Also, men doing almost everything with the end goal in mind of securing a mate for what should be life. AKA consistent coochie. Being able to consistently get it without having to commit is a win-win. The person also may not be somebody that I would see as the mother of my child. She can be my fantasy in the bedroom all she wants though. I personally couldn't, and this is just me, but sex is to have an emotional component for me to not feel guilty. My favorite parts of being intimate is the connection and interaction leading up to the act and the bonding that happens post-act. I know many don't think of sex this way, and that is good too. Sexual boundaries are complex and it's okay for them to vary person to person. You get a perk from a relationship without having to spend money on it. I mean, it's pretty clear. You get sex without taking her out. You get sex without worrying if going out with friends will cause a fight. You get sex without being tied down. Sex without arguments, without having to go to family events, sex without keeping the relationship fresh. Gosh, why did I get married? Lol. Okay, I'm gay, but as a man, honey, I can firmly and resolutely tell you, it would be for the sex. The sex would be it. You answered your own question in the question. Unless there's more to this scenario that hasn't been conveyed, sex is enough, and I can't think of any other variables that would be required or that would compel a man to keep at it that long. Men are simple. 1. It's clear to both that it's a sex-only arrangement. 2. Neither of us are in a romantic relationship. 3. I'm still sexually attracted to her. We're still sexually compatible after 4 years. 4. Sex. If it's just sex and I'm physically attracted to her, I don't even have to particularly like her. As long as we're clear that it's not going to be a romantic relationship. It must be a woman. The guy she's asks about has told her with every action possible that sex is the reason. He hasn't pursued anything else yet. She seems confused about his motives. JFC ladies, men are simple. If we don't do something, it's because we don't want to. There isn't anything deeper. There isn't a game plan. There isn't even any thought behind it. I mean, there's people I can see being friends with, there's less I can see spending my life with. I mean, FWB has been a thing for a long time. There's tons of women that just want to get their rocks off but don't want all the commitment, so it works for them too, because sex alone isn't as great most of the time as sex with another person involved. At a bar I used to hang at, about every 3-4 months this woman would show up, we'd go back to my place, next day I would drive her back to the bar, she would go her way, I would go mine. Never exchanged phone numbers or last names. Lasted for about 2.5 years until I moved to another city. Sex was great, but really didn't have anything in common. There are many different sort of relationships types you may want with a person. It's possible the person is aromantic and just doesn't want any romantic relationships with anyone. Could be that the person has some specific things they want in a romantic partner that that person doesn't have, such as one or lack of one for kids, stuff like that. TBH, my actual relationship is looking a bit rocky at the moment. If things do go sideways and I end up single, the only type of relationship I'll ever have again will be FWB. I'm not risking the hurt again. Got my kids, I'll prob have to get a new dog, crying face, and that's all I need. But I'm also 40, so it's different than if I was 20 or even 30. Fear of intimacy. Getting closer than that might just make him uncomfortable. And the closer, the more uncomfortable, Chinese finger trap style. This is sort of how I am. 40, unmarried, and I don't want, and so because I treasure my independence, but sometimes it's nice to have someone over for some intimacy. Probably. I am open poly and in the lifestyle. I have one partner that I've been seeing for about 7-8 or so years, and we only get together to have sex. We're good friends outside of that, but we don't have any sort of real relationship beyond just chatting sometimes and then getting together for sex. I had a brief relationship with a woman, where the sex was phenomenal. Ultimately I broke it off because we had too many differences that wouldn't have worked, and I could see the writing on the wall. But as long as both parties were interested in the sex, we kept meeting up for sex. Not sure, but asking for you to do some exploration about this relationship if you want the dynamic to change. What makes you think it will, or what made you think it ever would? You can't change the dynamic after 6 months, it ain't changing. I'd give up on that trout. This question didn't make much sense. You're having sex with someone regularly for 4 years, it's a relationship. It may not be the relationship you envisage because it's lacking some core attributes that you want out of the relationship, but it's still a relationship. I showed this post to a lady friend of mine, And she said, why buy the cow if you're getting the milk for free? Perhaps, sometimes, FWB is preferable over an actual relationship. In time, they will eventually realize they're in a relationship anyway. For what reasons would I have a 4-year sexual relationship with someone but not a relationship? I wouldn't. There isn't a possible way for 4 years I could keep my emotional detachment going while being that close and vulnerable with another person. He wants to fuck you but not date you. If he's fine having sex with you for 4 years, he obviously likes the sex. If he likes the sex and you, he would have asked for a relationship after a while. If you are not okay with just FWB, then break things off. I had that kind with one girl, but only for 3 years. She was a cheater. Whenever she got bored or mad at her husband, she would come jump my bones. She was gorgeous, but I knew she would cheat on me just the same as she did her husband's. The person was considered short-term material, but not long-term material. Short-term men and women dress differently, AC differently, behave differently, get intimate relatively quickly, but are not seen as long-term partner material. Uno reverse card. Why would a woman have a 4-year platonic relationship with a man in which he buys her stuff, takes her out to eat, dishes about friend gossip, goes to movies with her, etc., but not want a sexual relationship? There are plenty of people I'd have a good time having regular sex with and a terrible time having an actual relationship with. I already made the mistake once of marrying one of those people. It's definitely not happening again.